And we have a next speaker here. Mark dropped out. He's like traveling in Spain. I'm sorry, I'm taking over here to facilitate. Christian is my name. I'm also part of the unit team. And I'd like to give you a farewell to drop off or stay if you're interested, because our next speaker actually has a different application, but also the last 2 years have put him quite in the center of the attention of everybody on this planet. Lou Galterio is his name, and he is coming from the health sector in the US, which is a strong guiding sector for the planet. We have seen that over the last 2 years, how much the US is actually leading the thoughts and also like technologies in many areas. And Lou is going to talk about how we really can integrate blockchain into the healthcare, right? And industry. And he has a background. He's a pro in the healthcare industry, and he's owner of a Suncoast Bio company, Sea Vision, based in New Portland, which is, I understand, near Miami. South of Florida, really looking to see what you can really contribute and talk about what Suncoast is doing. I understand you're doing kind of physician quality reporting systems, so we really know like what kind of quality are we expecting, but also helping these people to use technology and also revenue, because like I assume that Web3 is changing every industry, and also that industry is going to be different. I can see that already today, how I'm consulting doctors, and I think it's going to be a totally different ball game in a decade from now. Right, Lou? And I'm really looking forward, and I have a few questions for you at the end. So welcome to our talk here on the Unit Polkadot Forum. Lou, thank you for dialing in from the US. Early morning for you. Probably had your first coffee. And I'd like to hand you over the mic.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, well, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very nicely. Yeah.
And how do, okay, I'm not sure I'm in the screen. There we go. Okay, good. Yeah. I'm in Florida, so it's, we have a lot of storms and a lot of electricity problems. So sometimes you may hear me, things may go a little slower, or you may hear me break up. So yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to be focusing on the theme of digital communities and entrepreneurial incentives, and I'm using the background of what we're doing here and where we think it's going. So thank you for that very wonderful introduction. You hit the nail on the head on that. Very quickly, just me, I've been in my life, I've been employees in the communications industry. I worked for Verizon, electrical engineering there, computer engineering. I also worked in the banking industry until around 1986, 87. One of the things I really enjoyed there, as I started getting into entrepreneurial activities, was I was called to help build a company called Depository Trust Clearing Corp. I was the architect. There were 5 people who were taking Depository Trust Corporation, which has been around for about 100 years, and it clears bonds, financial bonds. And we expanded it to clear all kinds of debt instruments. And so I was a part of that. I don't want to call myself a founder, but I was brought in the early part with 5 people. I was one of the 5 to put together the technology architecture. And then I fell so much in love with entrepreneurial activities that I started Suncoast Rio. And I'll tell you, Rio is Regional Health Information Organization. So I just wanted to give a little background on me, and that's it. And now I'd like to share my screen here and go into my PowerPoint.
Yes.
I am, yep, so I decided to call this presentation the Healthcare Unit blockchain, because unit has so much that it's helping us form in our strategy and everything we're going forward to. It just fits our strategy so well. So I'm going to talk about that. So thank you, Unit Network. So I've got 20 minutes to try to get out a lot of information. And so I'm going to start by saying that we've been in business since 2013. And the company, as you mentioned, we do a number of things. We started off as a nonprofit, a membership, and then we changed over to a vendor corporation, which is a for-profit. But that nonprofit part was very, very, very important. As we speak about DAO, I found in those early days that because the healthcare environment in the U.S. and in Florida, I come from New York originally. I was a CIO of 2 hospitals in New York City, New York Presbyterian and the Health and Hospitals Corporation of New York, which is the public system. But when I came down to Florida, I found that I was really trying to retire, but I found that there was so much that was going to surprise our medical providers. And I have a very strong place in my heart for them that I wanted to try to make things better. So we started Suncoast Rio as a nonprofit with members and basically helped our community get started on technology, because technology was changing drastically in those days for healthcare. So we started the company and we found so the big point I want to make on this topic is that we were trusted because of, at least in my experience, and I want to say this is like a blanket statement, but we were trusted in a community where our doctors and our hospitals were bombarded with vendors with niche products to make sales. What you find in healthcare is a lot of strong leaders who want to make their own decisions, and the vendors are there to help. And so because of that, there's many disparate systems that were purchased. And our clients include doctor practices and hospitals as well. We're hoping to get consumers engaged. But the hospitals, that's with open arms. They said, we need you to be here, some of our first big hospitals. So we need you to be here when the vendors come in so you could tell us if what they're saying is true or not. So we were that trusted, even though we ourselves were not part of it. So in a short amount of time here with the 20-minute clock, I'm going to just jump to some of the things we found and make sure that the stuff that's not that important will leave to the end, or if anyone wants to contact me later. So what have we learned since 2013 by trying to get healthcare providers and consumers involved? I come from a different generation than probably most of the people on this call. So there's a generational variation in how people trust technology for healthcare. We found that to be very true, that people in my generation typically were, if the doctor tells me what to do, I'm going to do it. There was very little, let me look at myself, let me ask other people, let me be in charge. So the whole idea of a team of doctor-patient called the medical home evolved throughout this time when the next generation behind us started coming up. Much more technology savvy and much more in charge of their healthcare and the people that they cared for, which is another aspect. My generation is baby boomers. We are getting sick faster, and it's just a cycle of life. Those that we took care of are now taking care of us. So the family unit is getting expanded to friendships, family. What is that unit of trust that works with the doctor as the team? And the doctor, in many cases, is almost part of that family extension. The doctors are in unique positions that they have, they're trusted so much, yet they are people we purchase service from. Because of the technology confusion, because we've had a real, the top flood third wave, what's it called today, the fourth turning. What because of the influx of technology so quickly in the world, what we ended up with, instead of having technology help, we had technology being taken advantage of by people with less than the best motives in mind, and created a system of scams and confusion. And healthcare had a hard time living up to the promises of technology fixing everything. There's, as I said, a lot of incompatible software. And for those of you who are in this area who are looking, well, how do I invest in something in healthcare? If you're an investor, or anyone who wants to know, what wealth is, where they should put wealth, the yield on healthcare is very hard to find. And again, that goes back to the history of the US healthcare system, where some organizations are nonprofit, some organizations are for-profit, some organizations only special surgeries or special types of activities. So this hodgepodge, and they all have different incentives on how they would make money or get quality care. And the last thing I'll say on this slide, I'm trying to keep an eye on my time, and there we go, 9/11, good. Is that I was very interested to hear the last speaker. I'm sorry?
You're good with the timing. I take care of your timing.
Okay, thank you. I can't see it when I went on the screen here. My little
There's
clock.
there's another 18 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I was very, very interested in the last speaker and the talent labor pool that she was discussing. Healthcare is a very funny field, because you have the people who make the technology work. You're really the best mix of people. If you could have a perfect mix, would be people with medical knowledge, would be people with computer savvy or engineering knowledge, and then you would have people who understand systems. Business type systems, business running. So engineering, medical, where do you find that combination? So what we tried to do, and I'll talk about that with the unit blockchain and the unit network, is creating toolkits with our blockchain that sort of have these very difficult to learn concepts that could be bundled. And therefore you could then take those bundles, and with technology people like the last speaker had, we could help build quickly new enterprises that would have returns on investment for those of the people who may be watching who are in the venture space. So let me move to the next slide. So about the industry, I think I said a lot of this already. It's very convoluted because of history and a lot of things that have, I like to call the term chaotic evolution under scattered guidance. So in some cases, hospitals and doctors will be driven by charity, just the need and the desire to help. Other organizations would be profit driven. So they are regular corporations where they have to return a return to stockholders in the form of a profit or dividend. So they're a little bit different driven. And then you have the nonprofit. And nonprofit doesn't mean that the people who work at nonprofit hospitals, for example, that they don't make money. It's just that they don't declare profit. That's what a nonprofit means. It doesn't declare profit. However, people have some pretty good salaries who work in nonprofits, but they have different things that drive them. They may get funded by bonds or other things. So again, that leads to the next thing, which is because of this looking to see what incentives will make us work. Sometimes it's money, sometimes it's government programs, sometimes it's, many things. So that reward structure of revenue or whatever it may be, or quality, is different for many of them. And we're talking about a very big industry here in the US. 20% of GDP is healthcare related in some way, which is, we call the payer community, the industry, insurance that pays the doctors and the veterans, Social Security. So everyone in the country is, this industry touches every single person. And it's a serious industry, and that's lives and wellness are at stake if we don't do it right. And the last line, I'm really saying this to everybody out there, the system is screaming for solutions. I think blockchain has those solutions. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I want to rush. Okay, so we've been around since 2013. I talked about this already. What do? We offer software and services. Some of the things we do for our doctors, there's some programs in the US where a doctor will get more money for the care they give if they reach a certain quality threshold that's determined by whoever pays them. In some cases, that's the government, Medicare. In other cases, it's commercial payers like United or Blue Cross Blue Shield. The other things we do is we help our clients being compliant and making sure notifications goes to all parties involved with a patient's health. There are many providers and many settings of care across a person's lifetime. We also help with audit and things like that. So now we're getting to the blockchain piece. So we found that as a Rio, we were morphing into a DAO. And so I said, I want to be a DAO. And looking at some of the things Unit makes possible for us in our white paper, which hasn't been released yet, but our strategic plan is the ability to not only for us to create tokens, but we're going to be the initial DAO. And then other DAOs, almost like a franchise, will grow up, we hope, across the country, and they will have the capability of becoming DAOs using Unit, creating the tokens they need. Healthcare is very local to its place, so therefore token creation, it could be a local and coins as well. The minting and the wrapping, the wrapping and the unwrapping are very key to what we do because we have to get involved with many other blockchains. And I'll talk about those in a minute. So here's one right after that. We found we think the best way to get our blockchain expanded to the consumer world is through a blockchain called Helium. And what they do is based on antenna cards. If you set a hotspot with your antenna card, you get rewards. So in effect, people who use the Helium network are miners. And that's sort of led us to our mining approach as well. So why blockchain? So I talked about this already. I talked about the rollout plan. We have some crypto assets that we've already mentioned. Two of them is the Rio token and the Rio coin, which would be the one that could be backed and used as currency. We're trying to see how this would fit into the United States Security Exchange Commission, whether they're going to call that a security or not, or a commodity, but we're still trying to figure that out. What we want to do is make sure that the coins we do put out are backed by the assets, fiat, which is out there already, gold. We have an alignment with, actually I'm a reseller for United Precious Metal Association in Utah, where they sell gold and silver, and they have something called a gold back, which is actually can be used as species, can be used as currency in certain states. And it can be used as barter in any place you want, anyone who will accept it. But it's actually, it looks like a dollar or a paper currency, but it's not. It's actually got gold woven into it. So it has a gold value. And that could be a great collateral backup to our Rio coin. We heavily use smart contracts and are linked to the other blockchains, especially Helium would be through hardware oracles and even software equivalents of that. There's a major need for accurate, mutable records in real time in healthcare. This not only is required for the obvious reasons, but it's also a disincentive for the hackers who are making a day out of ransomware. If they could break into something and it goes away real quick because it changed, because of the nature of the system, then that's what happens. And so what is a unit of health worth? How can we define that value? And what we would see, any coin in a healthcare crypto system could be used for payments, accuracy, record keeping, interoperability. We call that health information exchange. And I talked about the toolkit incubator. Some of the trends in the field is things are moving away from proprietary systems into open initiatives, and that's, I think, 48% of the healthcare. The one organization that is doing most of it is the federal government. As my generation gets older, CMS and Medicare, and they're pushing for open systems. We need to develop labor so that people understand how to bring together the various cohorts of healthcare. We all can't be doctors, and doctors can't all be engineers, even though a lot of them are really good at it. We all can't be doctors. They go to school for decades to learn what they know and their experience as well. So stop trying to be doctors and let's work with them. And that's so Suncoast Rio is well established to launch into the Dow world. And especially now with the world of inflation going crazy and there are debt issues that many doctors and hospitals have, perhaps they will start accepting cryptocurrency in payment as well. As I said on the bottom there's a need for consistency in a jungle of incompatible software and incorrect records. So what we want to do, I mentioned at the beginning that one of our problems was people not using technology in my generation, and basically because the incentive was foggy. So part of our consensus mechanism is that we have introduced what we call a proof of patient, provider, pharmacy. We hope this will get people involved that when a block is validated, that is validated first by the regular mining community that figures out the hash algorithm, but secondly then gets double validated by the patient whose record it is, the provider. And so we get a double, triple check and we fix inconsistencies and errors through the consensus mechanism, and they do then get rewarded with currency, with cryptocurrency. So they will be miners. The users will be miners in our system. And so we've had an accurate reporting rate, 100% since 2013. That is how you reach us. That number, MIPS EHR, that's one of the government programs called Merit Incentive Payment System. And electronic health records are a big thing here in this country. And so that's why we got that. But a lot of people can't remember that. And that's how to reach me. So thank you very, very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Lou, for starting this conversation here. It's like since you have been out there in the American healthcare market since nearly a decade, what are the first applications out there which makes it possible or to integrate blockchain? What's happening out there?
Wow. The best way to answer that is to ask you to look at the American system and how they define a free market enterprise, free market capital system. So what I'm saying there is you'll find a lot of the private companies, though they may say that interoperability is a good thing to work together with others, they are profit driven. They may in some cases want to work with their competitors, but they may not. They don't want to give away, and I understand that. They do not want to give away trade secrets. So there is this dichotomy of feelings toward whether we share or whether we don't share. Again, the government has some blockchain projects that they're looking at in the CMS and the Agency for Healthcare Research. Those would be the entry points to, on a big scale, would be government and research. As the level of private practice and doctors, they are very, they will look at new ideas. They're all entrepreneurs. Doctors are entrepreneurs. You ever hear the term herding cats? Because it's so hard to get all doctors to agree on something. It's because they're very individualistic people. They're very strong leaders. So doctors would look at something, and I've spoken to a couple of them already, on potentially having an alternative way to get paid. And if that way to get paid was cryptocurrency, and the cryptocurrency had a hard commodity value backup to it, they would do it. And I know I'm working with a number of doctors across the country in different states that are looking at a barter system, or they're looking at the gold system, even diamonds. There's a company called Diamond Standard here in New York. I'm in Florida now, but we have another company in New York called Health Hub, and Diamond Standard is putting out diamonds and a commodity that also has an equivalent crypto asset called Bitcarbon. So with the gold, it's quant, and with the diamonds, it's Bitcarbon. So I don't know if I'm answering your question as well as I can, but I think you're asking me where the entry point is to get this started. There's a couple of blockchain efforts going on, but they're point solutions. This is looking at the system. So how do I get the system to inherit that and also bring in the point solutions? And I think unit helps a lot with that.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that credit. Really appreciate that. I think when I'm looking at the healthcare market and my health, I'd like to own my data, like if I look at my, I think that's the biggest question we're having to answer in the next decade when artificial intelligence marries biology. We're having the internet of the human bodies. That's what I can see like slowly happening.
Yes,
it's going to be an interesting decade for all health enthusiasts, and who owns the data and who has the transparency about it. Lou, I'd say thank you very much for joining us, and also bringing this topic, which is definitely not a usual topic to talk in Web3 conferences about healthcare, but I really appreciate that.